Hello, welcome. Today we are talking again about the Anleon S2 wireless in-ear monitor system. This is going to be a bit of an updated video. We're going to cover some of the questions that have been asked on my original review. Make sure you like and subscribe, and you can check that out as well. I'll post a link in the description down below. So this is covering some questions. Is it durable? What's the limiter like? And is it stereo? Okay, so we're going to cover all three of those in this video, so stay tuned. Okay, let's start at the start. Is it durable? Right, so I've had this, I'm not sure exactly actually how long I've had this now. I did the last review at nine months ago, I put that up. But I'm pretty sure I had it maybe a couple of months before that. I know I ran it for a decent amount of time before I did that review, so that I really knew what it was like, so that I could do an informed review on that. That's what I prefer to do. Since then, I have broken the aerial off this. You might be able to see there is some heat shrink holding the aerial on. Now, to be fair, the only reason that happened is because I hit it real hard with my hand. It was on my belt back here somewhere, and I did something and I was like swinging my arm through, and I just like smacked the thing off. That happened like pretty much right before I was getting up on stage, and I just taped up the base of it. What actually happened was just the plastic outer casing broke at the bottom. So you could like slide the aerial off, but the aerial itself actually didn't break. The aerial inside here is like a little steel cable. It's actually a decent thickness, so that was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It was just this outer cover basically that came off. That meant that the thing didn't stand up straight, but it still worked perfectly fine. So yeah, at the time I just wrapped some tape around it. It was fine, did the whole gig, and then I chucked some heat shrink on just to hold it a bit better. What also happened to me one day on a trip to the bathroom, as tends to happen with electronic stuff, I accidentally knocked it off my belt and it fell in the toilet. Luckily before I went to the toilet, but nevertheless it was fully submerged in water, and I did what any brave man would do. I stuck my hand in and I fished it out. Alright, and then I did the other thing that we all do with electronics when they get in the water. I took the batteries out and shoved it in the hot water cupboard overnight. So when it first happened, I did try and turn it back on, and the LCD screen was all like messed up, like there was like black blobs all over the place, and I was like, oh no, I've wrecked it. But if that does happen, you can actually buy replacement belt packs. So that was in the back of my mind, that at least it's not going to cost me the full hog, even though that's not that much. I think it's like just under $100 US, but just a belt pack on its own is even cheaper. But like I say, in the airing cupboard overnight, batteries back in the morning, turned it on, and the screen came back to normal, and it has been working perfectly fine for many months since then. Okay, no issues, so that is a good thing. So is it durable? I'm going to say yes. I reckon I could have broken just about anything off anything when I whacked this with my hand on a very awkward angle with a reasonable amount of force, especially a little plastic thing. I don't think that's down to the construction of this. I think that's more down to just an awkward accident. Yeah, no other issues. Belt clip, still nice and solid. I use this basically, I probably gig twice. I play in a church band, so we do 2 services a Sunday. Most Sundays I would say that I'm on both of those, normally at least one. Occasionally I'll have a Sunday off, over at least 9 months, plus practices during the weeks, plus I use this at home when I'm recording videos. Not this video obviously, because I'm showing it to you, but it gets a really reasonable amount of use. So I'd say, yep, pretty durable. Okay, what is the limiter like? Well, the limiter is the one thing that in the comments on my last video I have put a few people off this unit, and I've suggested they spend a little bit more to get something a little bit more reliable in that department. The limiter is the one thing I don't like about this unit. I feel that the release time on it is too long. Luckily, when I did the recording to show you the stereo panning abilities of it, the limiter actually goes off partway through, so you can get an idea of how long that's for. For me as a musician, it's perfectly fine because I'm playing guitar or I'm playing bass, something like that. If it goes out for 5 seconds or whatever, then it's not a big deal because I know what I'm playing. I can still hear the drummer, even if I can't hear my instrument. I've got a fairly good idea of where I'm at and what I'm doing. If you were a vocalist, especially if you were leading as a vocalist, I reckon that would be a different story, because just having your ear feed cut out all of a sudden would I reckon throw you off a little bit. It kind of depends what your setup is. If you've still got foldbacks as well, maybe the other vocals on stage don't have in-ears, so they're using foldbacks, they're not such a big deal because you can still hear them. And in fact, when I use this, I only have one earpiece in, so that I can still hear from the foldbacks that vocalists are using. I can hear a bit of the front of house and that. We don't have what you would call an atmosphere mic, which would be a mic somewhere in the room that picks up a bit of front of house and that you would feed into your ears to just give you a feel of the overall sound of what's going on. We don't have that, so I tend to just keep one out. This one I keep out. Use my left one. So that takes me onto the stereo thing. Is it stereo? Yes, it is stereo. That is the short answer, but not just that. I encourage you to stay tuned and watch our run through, because when we say it's stereo, what it could be doing is sending a mono signal from the box to this, and then this could be splitting it into left and right. But that's still a mono signal, so there's not really much point in that being stereo. So the difference with this is it is true stereo. And why does that matter? Well, I have come across some musicians, especially that work in much larger, more professional environments, that actually like to pan the instruments that are on the stage. So say I'm standing here, say I'm playing bass today, and over here I've got my acoustic guitar and my drummer. Over here I've got my electric guitar and my keyboard player. What some people will do is they will pan keyboard and electric to that side, acoustic and drums to that side, or kind of mix it so they're more dominant on that side or that side, but still a bit in both. That is something that you can do with this unit, and that's what we're going to prove in our run through. What I've got is I've got a keyboard setup, and I'm going to be playing the guitar, and I've got one pan to one side. I can't play both instruments at once, that would be awkward, so the keyboard is actually just playing a beat, so you see me press the button, and then it's playing the beat in the background, and then I'm playing the guitar. So I've got one pan to one side, one pan to the other side, and then partway through I'll swap them around. Also partway through that, the limiter is going to go off, so I'll flash up on screen to say limiter, so you know what's happening there. I would say the time that goes off for is a fairly average time that it does occur for. I have had it go off for longer. I feel like the bigger the spike it receives, the longer it goes off for. So don't get me wrong with the limiter. The limiter is a great feature. It's there to protect your hearing. So if somebody drops a microphone or something and there's all of a sudden this loud spike, it will cut the feed to your ears. The only issue I have with the limiter in this is I feel like the release is too long. So it takes too long for it to come back again. I feel like that release should be much, much faster so that it cuts off and then brings it straight back in. okay, there shouldn't be such a long delay. But have a listen and see what you think. Okay, great. Hopefully this has been helpful for you today. Please remember to like and subscribe, and make sure you check out my original review where we go into the range and all that sort of thing. I also do another video where I do an urban test on the range, because that was another question that was asked on the original, because I did the range test out here in the country so you could see how far it was. And then people thought that was the only reason it went so far, so I did one in town in the actual venue that we use as well. So make sure you check out those videos, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.